Hey, everybody, and welcome. I wanted to talk to you today about the spiritual club and what I have changed and why I changed it. A couple things I want to mention is that when I do the spiritual club, what I do in the meetings is everybody gathers. We gather on Maestro Conference, and I talk for about 10 to 20, sometimes 30 minutes, depending upon the topic. And then I break you into private rooms. So you'll be with one other member or two, depending upon the exercise, and you'll be doing a card reading exercise with each other. And the idea behind this is that you hone your skills and get better and better. And one of the things I've noticed, especially in this last year and a half, is that what's become important to me is really working with people that are wanting to learn these skills for themselves and ultimately get a professional level. I want to say education on it. You don't have to practice. You don't have to be out there with a shingle. And if you want to, you can be. However, one of the things that I think is super important is a common language. And that's something that I've noticed that we had been missing. Sometimes what happens in a club like this, and especially if it's open to everybody, is that people come in and they don't understand some of the language and they get lost, or they get frustrated, or more importantly, they're not as committed to the work as some of the other people. So in order to shift some of this, what I decided to do is to change the dynamic of the club. So the way it's going to work is, if you want to be a member of the club, if you're already a member, you're grandfathered in. If you join now or within this time period that we're stipulating, it may be over, but if you join within this time period, what's going to happen is you will be grandfathered at that price at that time. And that means, for some of you, it means that you studied with me years ago, you have a good idea of what's going on, and we don't have to go back to what's a neutral observer, what's diving under the wave, all of the little techniques that you learn in level 1, which brings me to this. So if you take or sign up for level 1 within this time period, you will get 3 months of spiritual club included with it. And by the way, one of the reasons I'm doing this is I really love getting in there and going into some deep things about each card, about finding out more about yourself. I give tips on multi-generational healing. All of these things I think are going to be super important that you have level 1 under your belt, so that when you step into the club, you're going to be working with other people. And all those techniques, you know how that is. You take a class and you're like, yeah, I took it. Now how do I use them? Well, if you're in the club, you'll get a chance to put to use in a safe environment all the things that you've learned in level 1. Now that brings me to another thing, which is my multi-generational healing course, which is going to be starting in the fall. That will only be available to people who have taken level 1 or who have a very good understanding of the cards and deck and the terminology we're going to be using. So it's very important that you get that. I'm not trying to withhold from people. I'm trying to give you as much powerful information as you can get, and really not throw you in under the bus in terms of being behind. I don't know about you, but sometimes we take these courses and then I forget, what does that mean? And it's okay to forget what it means as long as you've been exposed to it, because then you can say to the people in your group, oh gosh, remind me of that. And they can go, it's this. Oh yeah. And you may be finding that the spiritual club becomes a place where you can hone your professional skills to such a point where it's natural. And I think most of you, if you've worked with me, you know that my commitment is to you really having that internal peace, that connection with spirit or God, and that connection with yourself and others that has really perhaps been eluding some of you, and also creating the life that perhaps has eluded you. And I think that many of us have that kind of thing going on. So I know this has been a little longer than I wanted it to be, but I wanted to give you a taste of what's going on in Spiritual Club. So the first thing is, of course, there'll always be the tarot reading night, and card reading. I'm thinking of my new deck next year. The card reading night is going to be me pulling cards for members and pulling back the curtain and showing you how I got to that conclusion reading those cards. So the members get to see not only me doing a reading, but they get to experience how I got there. The other thing you'll find is there's going to be a journaling meeting where I show you how to pull information out of the cards by asking the right energetic questions. And of course, there's Tori's Choice, which is going to be something I put together that is like fun and different and a way for you to explore your internal reality with the cards. And finally, Chakra Wisdom Card Night, which is where I bring in one of the tools or techniques, share it with you, show you how to do it, and then set you free to do it with other people in the club. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I hope that you will take this opportunity to really go inside and say, you know, this is something I really do want to do, or it's not for me. But one thing I want to remind you of is when you join, you get access to all of the last 2 years audio downloads, which means you'll be able to listen to this wealth of information and tap into some things that maybe hadn't occurred to you before. So I hope you'll think about joining during this membership opening and closing. When I close the membership to the public, it's only going to be available to people who've graduated from level 1. And again, this is, and beyond, this is going really to be, because my focus is going to steer much more into a professional level of training. And I think it's going to get super exciting and really juicy, because that's where I like to live, and I want to live there with you. So I hope to see you in some of the upcoming club meetings, and I hope you'll think about jumping in and joining us in the new spiritual club. I'll see you there.